Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to our program. My name is Ellie Nieves, and I'm a women's leadership speaker, writer, and coach. I'm also the founder and president of Leadership Strategies for Women, and I work with and speak for companies, organizations, and associations that want to train their emerging leaders and develop them into effective managers and executives. I also coach women who want to achieve more both personally and professionally. And through my speaking and coaching programs, I help individuals and organizations to develop leadership skills, set strategic goals, and help them to just achieve their vision for success. If you would like me to speak to your company or your association or group, please go to my webpage at ellienieves.com. That's E-L-L-I-E, N as in Nancy, I-E, V as in Victor, E, S as in Sam.com. We've got a great show for you today. Our guest is Patricia Mota. She is Director of Membership Outreach for the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, or HACE for short. But before I bring Patricia on, I want to share some leadership strategies with you to help you continue to pave your leadership track. And as you know, I have the honor and privilege of interviewing some awesome and inspiring leaders on my show. And not so long ago, I interviewed Josephine Santos. And Josephine is the head of international operations at a New York-based Fortune 500 company. And during our interview, Josephine shared 3 essential elements for women in leadership that I want to share with you today. The first element that Josephine shared is be enthusiastic. Enthusiasm and passion for the work that you do is contagious, and it motivates others. The second element is communicate well and communicate often. When you're in a leadership position, people expect you to guide them through work situations. So your ability to communicate is important if you want to effectively lead your team. It's also important to be able to communicate with colleagues at all different levels, from team members to senior leadership. And finally, the third element that Josephine shared during the interview is surround yourself with really good people. Hire the best team members that you can. A top-notch team will allow you to more effectively reach business goals and to ultimately be more successful. If you want to listen to the full interview with Josephine, I invite you to scroll back to my Women in Leadership series on either Blog Talk Radio or on iTunes. So we have a great show for you today, and our guest is Patricia Mota. Patricia is the Director of Membership Outreach for the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, or as I mentioned earlier, HACE for short. She focuses on women's leadership and post-secondary outreach. At HACE, she also works on growing and strengthening HACE's national network through the delivery of skill development and networking building programs for students and for professionals. Patricia strives to engage experienced professionals as mentors and advisors to create a multi-generational network to support Latinos' career growth around the country. Patricia Mota earned a double Bachelor of Arts degree from Indiana University, Bloomington in Spanish and Communication and Culture, and a Master's in Public Affairs in Public Management from Indiana University School of Public and Environmental Affairs. Patricia, welcome to the show.
Ellie, thank you so much for having me. It's definitely an honor and a pleasure to be on your show, and congratulations on all the success that you had and all of the great speakers that you had also on this show. It's very impressive.
Thanks so much, and I'm really grateful to have you on the show and to add you to that list of impressive women.
Thank you.
Patricia, great. So to kick off our interview, I want to ask you to share something about your background.
Well, just to give you a little bit of information on my background, I grew up in Northwest Indiana in a small city, East Chicago, Indiana, kind of bordering the Illinois border there to the Chicago area. And my parents are from Mexico, so I'm Mexican-American, and I have 3 older brothers and a younger sister. So growing up there, predominantly minority high school, to going to a Big Ten university definitely opened my eyes, and you know, it was just a unique experience to have, and a challenge as well that we've encountered and we work with a lot of the students that we work on a day-to-day basis. Like you mentioned, you know, I attended Indiana University in Bloomington and have earned my double Bachelor of Arts both in Spanish and Communication and Culture, and my Master's in Public Management Administration. Currently, as you also mentioned, my role as director at HACE has been a year and a half now. And prior to my work at HACE, which is a national nonprofit organization, I worked in higher education. And I worked for the community college for the state of Indiana, working on recruitment, retention programs primarily for Latino students. Did that, partnered with four-year universities to get the students to transfer, and also with a lot with the business community and corporations to be able to connect the students to those types of resources and learn a little bit more about those different types of organizations. Prior to my work in higher ed, as an undergrad, you know, if you would have asked me years ago as an undergraduate what I would be doing, I had no idea that I would continue my work in the Latino community. Mm-hmm. And when I look back and I reflect on some of my experiences as an undergrad, I did a lot of work in the Latino community. For example, through an AmeriCorps program, I was able to assist the city of Bloomington and also the university and a nonprofit organization in the Bloomington area to help open a first Latino community center to be able to meet the needs of Latinos in the area. There were a lot of issues surrounding predatory lending, immigration. So to be able to connect with the community, bring in workshops to the community, was something that I did as an undergraduate, and now that I think has really built upon to what I'm doing today on a larger scale.
Right. I love two things that you shared. One thing is that, you know, the culture shock that you experienced, you know, going from a small town to a large university. I think a lot of us can relate to that, especially if we went to, you know, small high schools or did come from small towns. I went to a small high school myself, and when I went to Fordham University to get my bachelor's degree, it was definitely culture shock. So there were, you know, the school was so large. There were people coming in from, you know, all over the place. I mean, I, you know, grew up in the Bronx. Everybody I knew was from the Bronx, and now suddenly I'm meeting, you know, people
well,
from all
that's
across
one
the
thing,
country.
right? You become used to or surround, you know, growing up, for example, in my case, I was surrounded by a majority of people who look like me, similar backgrounds. Our parents were, you know, from, you know, Spanish speakers, and then to go to a larger place that you seem to be the only one.
Right.
It's a huge impact on, you know, it makes a huge impact on your experience, but also was definitely a challenge that I embraced, and that I would say you embraced as well, being as successful as you are today as well.
You know, and I also love that you shared just about, you know, how some of the things that you did in your background also influenced where you are today. And I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, you know, what am I going to be when I grow up, or what am I going to do next, what's going to be my career move. And yet we always kind of end up in a place, you know, that is similar to maybe something that really touched our lives in a special way early on.
Right. I agree.
Yes. So thank you for sharing that. So, Patricia, you work at HACE. How did you become interested in career development?
So, again, similar to my experience where I wasn't, prior to exactly sure as an undergraduate in college that I was going to continue my work in the Latino community. Similar theme here as far as now my work specifically in career development. After a while, I always found myself helping others advancing in their careers, or I always found individuals, either my peers or colleagues, who were asking me, you know, what advice do you have? I'm trying to get into this new role or this new job. And I realized after a while that this was an area that I had helped a lot of my peers in. So, of course, you know, my interest grew in that, and, you know, just And not only that, but having read a lot of articles on the topic, whether it be in women leadership, whether it be on, how to make your resume stand out or anything, have always been a personal interest for me, not only for my career, but also because of I was able to assist others in doing so. So it's just one of those things that kind of fell into my lap. And then when I finished my master's program, I was doing my master's program simultaneously and working full-time in higher education. I had met my goals and kind of knew who was the next person to take my role, so was looking for that next step. I saw the opportunity with HACE to be able to work with, not only the community but also with companies and organizations who are seeking to connect with the members was just the perfect next step. And fortunately, now I'm here a year and a half later with HACE and continuing my work in the career development.
Awesome. And you're definitely doing some outstanding work. I had the pleasure of working with you and a group of your women in the leadership program, and it's just a phenomenal program. You have impressive women, and I really congratulate you on the work that you're doing there.
Thank you. And that's just one example, the Women's Leadership Program, of the work that we're doing at HACE. You look at the various leaders at a lot of the companies that we're working with, and you see a consistent gap all across the board when you look at leadership within these companies and organizations. And the gap is where is the minority representation? So for us, one of our mission is to be able to support our community to get to those levels, of the professionals that we work with to get to those levels in their career.
That's awesome. And you just shared a little bit, but can you share a little bit more about HACE as an organization and its mission? Yes.
So HACE, as you mentioned, stands for the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement. And I will say, because we get asked from time to time, can only Hispanics get involved? And that's no. We are a diverse organization and very inclusive, and we're looking to serve whoever we can help. So, just to share that. And this year, actually, HACE turns 30. So we'll be a 30-year-old organization, and we'll be celebrating that at our annual benefit in October of this year.
Wonderful. So, that's great.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And since, we were founded in Chicago, and since we were founded, the mission has always remained the same. And primarily, our founders, they sat around and were having a discussion over some of their corporations that they were working at, kept saying, there's no Latino talent to fill some of the positions that they were looking to fill. And to them, a lot of their peers were talented Latinos, and they're like, how can we connect these companies to these individuals that we know? And we still do that to this day in our recruitment products, but we also now offer professional development and community building and branding opportunities for the employers we work with. And what we're a national nonprofit organization, and we serve to provide insight, access, and professional development to our partner employers and to the 40,000-plus members seeking to connect with them or who currently work with these companies and organizations. So for our partner employers, we provide recruitment opportunities such as career conferences, recruitment events, research, and referrals. The second area is retention and community building opportunities, and this encompasses our high school program, our college programs, and also our entry-level to mid-career professional development programs. And the third opportunity that we partner with these employers are branding products. These include our networking events, social media outlets, ways for the employers to be able to connect to our members so that they know, what is the Federal Reserve, what are they all about, who is Allstate, and those are actually two of our partners that we work with. For our membership base, such as the high school students, college students, the professionals, we work to provide them with professional development opportunities. Some of them include networking, how to network, how to market, how to build your personal brand. The second area, we provide them with coaching opportunities. whether it be a mock interview, resume reviews. And the third area is primarily to expand their networks and their connections to internship, entry-level, or experienced career-level opportunities as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do. That's our mission, and that's what we're striving to continue to do. Other than Chicago, our second and third largest membership base include the Houston and the New York, New Jersey area.
Wonderful. That's great. And can you share some information about your Mujeres de HACE program, which is actually your Women's Leadership Development Program?
Right. So, Ellie, we had the opportunity to partner in 2011 with you on one of our training sessions for Mujeres de HACE, which is our Women's Leadership Program. And primarily the goal of the program is to empower high-potential Latina professionals to meet their professional and personal goals. And primarily women that are, go through the program, we look to see that they have defined career goals.
Mm-hmm.
And reason being because they meet with executive coaches individually to be able to outline what it is that their 5-year action plan looks like in order to meet their personal and professional goals. The second component is the training sessions that we have. The training sessions hit on personal branding, work-life prioritization, self-discovery of what type of a leader you are, how to best manage and work with other types of leaders, and personal finance. And towards the end of the program, we wrap it up where the participants throughout the program are conducting research on what are best practices for women leaders in order to advance in their careers. So at the very end, they present their findings. And the biggest thing that we've noticed many times, a lot of the women throughout their research have met with senior leaders at their companies who they've never met with before, which is great. And many times they're like, I had no idea that they'll be able to make time to do so, or, just being able to gain insight from someone at a leadership position at your company is huge. The third and the biggest component, Ellie, has been the social capital, so the bonds and the relationships created as a result of the program.
Right.
And that's huge because the confidence level of the women just have gone through the roof, where we see them now asking for what they deserve at their companies or seeking opportunities that they would have never sought before. And one of the findings that we had from our survey for women who've gone through the program, since 2009, over 80% of the women are now sitting on a nonprofit board or volunteering for a nonprofit since they've gone through the program. And that, for us, is huge because they're giving back. Whether it be at HACE or another nonprofit, they're giving back.
That's wonderful. And I love that you track their results after they graduate from the program. I think that's really awesome.
Well, that's key, not only for this program, but we are really metric-driven, and it's important so that, we can report and we can share to the partners that we serve, to the employees that we serve, what the impact is of our program.
So what are some of the okay. All right, go ahead. No, finish up.
And just also the Mujeres de HACE, we're actually launching our pilot program in Houston this year, and before 2015 in the New York, New Jersey area as well.
That's wonderful. So listeners,
we look forward
to look out for that.
Again.
Well, I would love to. This is definitely, I speak to different groups of women, but this was one of the programs that definitely touched my heart. So I would love to work with you guys again. So absolutely.
Great.
So tell me,
it's recorded live, so we have your word.
So what are some of the challenges that you found that Latinas face as they seek to grow as leaders?
Well, one of the biggest things that, for example, in order to run the Mujeres de HACE program, there's a cost that we have to, put in the program in order to, we feed them in order to get some of the materials and then the coaching sessions as well, for example. So many times I'll get a call from a Latina professional who would be like, you know what, I really want to go through this program, but I don't have the money for it now.
Right.
And then I asked them, well, have you asked your company or organization if they're willing to support you? And, many times they're not aware of that opportunity through whether it's through HR, whether it's through an employee resource group. Many times corporations have funding to be able to support their employees. So one of the biggest challenges that I've seen is that Latinas are afraid to ask, afraid to, whether it's their direct supervisor, because, the worst they can say, and that's what I usually share, is no, right?
Right.
So being able to empower the women who are afraid to ask and say, hey, it's okay, make sure you prepare what it is that you're going to ask, but also be able to say why it is that they should invest in you. And many times they've come back and they're like, oh, they said yes.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest things, just being able to get, have the courage to ask and know that, if you're worth it for that reason. The second biggest challenge that I would say is Latinas, just as many Latinos in general, are from humble beginnings, and I'm sure when you attend professional development sessions, you have these interactions with professionals, you come to realize that a lot of Latinos, it's not easy. It doesn't come easy to us to brag about ourselves. And it's not so much bragging, but it's being able to share what your accomplishments are and what you have to bring to the table, what you have to offer. And I think that, being from humble beginnings, the majority of Latinos weren't taught to be that way, to be able to say, I've accomplished this much, or I've received this award, or I'm really great at X, Y, Z. So what I've seen in general has been one of the second challenges. The third challenge that I would share is I would say trying to balance work and life, I think, has been one of the biggest, or the third challenge that I've seen, whether it be, having kids and taking care of aging parents, which is it's another huge one, and being able to manage that and work at the same time. Many times, Latinas who are dealing with being able to take care of aging parents or, children at daycare are working on a project at work, but also have these things on our minds as well. So, it's learning how to prioritize and learning how to share with your supervisor what it is that you need, what flexibility it is that you need to be able to manage that.
Well, I mean, it's great that you shared that, and I think you hit it on the nail in that it's not just, this is not just a Latina issue. These are not just Latina issues, but these are like issues that a lot of women who are starting to be in leadership, do struggle with. It could be self-confidence, self-promotion, work-life balance, communicating across your organization. That those are definitely issues that aren't unique to them, but it's something that we can all relate to and think about our own experiences as, in our own leadership development and how we've found challenges. And one of the things that I often encounter with women in general is just, as you mentioned, the self-promotion aspect, or just just knowing that your company does have resources to invest in you. And I think some women are even surprised at the thought of that. I want to take a leadership development program, and some companies actually, carve out funds to be able to do that. And if they think it's worth it, they might even go out of their way to do it. I had one client who happened to have mentioned to her supervisor during a performance evaluation that she was going to get coaching, and her supervisor volunteered it, said, oh, that's wonderful, let me pay for it,
Yeah, exactly. So, I agree with you, and I'm sure through your work you've encountered these same types of situations that you heard, and it's consistent all across the board.
And I love that you shared that, so thank you so much. So what are some of the best leadership advice that you've learned through your work with HACE?
I definitely would have to say, given our conversation so far, is I've known it because I've done it myself, but it never really just, like, I had an aha moment during my work at HACE, and what it is that I've seen that continuous learning is imperative at any stage in your career.
Right.
And in my work at HACE has really confirmed this, and I say that because, I mean, just to see some of the outcomes we've had in our high school programs, in our college programs, in our professional development programs, it's, you know, there's a need to continue to learn and to keep up to date. And it's not so much, it is the learning that takes place, but it's also the networks that are built as a result of participating in a program or attending an event. And it's important. It's important, and especially this day and age, being that the market's a lot more competitive, and unfortunately also the economy is not as great as it should be. That's even more imperative to be able to attend a professional development program, whether it's a one-day workshop. Maybe, you know, it's after work, 6 to 8. Take that additional step to say, okay, I'm going to make it a long day, but this is important for me to reach my, you know, personal, professional goals, whatever it may be. It's very important. And for, you know, what actually made me think about this even more is we had a keynote speaker speak at our last Mujeres de HACE graduation event, and she's the president of Chicago United, Gloria Castillo. And if you're in Chicago United, one of the things that they do is they match prospective board members to corporate boards. So that's one of the things that they've done. They work with small businesses, minorities, supplier diversity, is some of the things that they do. And what Gloria mentioned, and her advice was to make it a habit to continuously learn, you know, making it a habit. And I thought, you know, that kind of shifted the perspective as far as what I knew, but actually saying, well, once, you know, making it a habit is key to success.
That's great. That's great advice. So, Patricia, we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you, what are some of your personal goals and aspirations?
Some of my personal goals, one of the next things I plan to do, and this is probably within the next 5 years, I want to start working on a doctorate degree. Wow. And specifically, I have it now down, because there's so many areas, what my specific research would entail. But my goal is within the next 5 years to figure what it is that is, and then start, you know, applying to some of the doctorate programs, and be able to, once I have nailed what my research is and completed a doctorate degree, to be able to incorporate that and go out and continue to teach in whatever area it may be. Because right now it could be whether in women's leadership. I work a lot with college students, so it can be something specifically in that area. So my areas of interest are really huge right now, so I need to nail that down.
Well, that's great. The world is your oyster, so you just go for it. Go for it. So where can our listeners learn more about HACE?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Where can our listeners learn more about HACE?
Yes, so you can definitely learn more about HACE through various ways, but of course I will initially direct you to our website, which is www.haceonline, and that's all one word. It's HACE as in cat, online.org. And on there, yeah, definitely. And on there, we have information on all of our programs. And on the far left hand side, you can click on our social media links. So our LinkedIn group, our YouTube page. Definitely encourage you to check out our videos and our Twitter account as well.
Great. Patricia, thank you so much for taking the time today to share about HACE, as well as share some helpful strategies with our listeners to help them take their careers to the next level.
Thank you, Ellie. You know, I really appreciate it, you reaching out and, you know, offering this great opportunity. It's not a great opportunity for additional exposure for us, but also I want to commend the great work that you've done with your work and hopes to continuously partner with you in the future.
Well, thank you so much, Patricia. I definitely look forward to doing that. And
thank
to all
you.
my listeners, thank you for tuning in. I hope you will connect with me on Facebook. Just do a search for Leadership Strategies for Women. Until next time, God bless.